Hello once again, Spooktober fans. It's We Watch Shudder. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
My name is Michelle.
Her name is Michelle. Every
Me.
time it's been Michelle every time I have interacted with her in my entire experience. One of these days it might not be Michelle, but
Is it
every
Michelle
time.
right now? Who knows?
I don't know. Do you even know?
I don't know.
Maybe not. Maybe not. All right, guys. So you all know what we do. We talk about movies on Shudder. In October, we're going through and talking about old movies that we didn't get a chance to talk about because they came out before we started the podcast. That's enough of a summary. Michelle, what movie are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about Scare Package.
Heck yeah, Scare Package from the Shudder website. In this riotous anthology, Chad Buckley is a lonely horror aficionado spending his days overseeing a struggling video store and arguing with his only customer, Sam. When an unsuspecting applicant arrives, Chad sets out to teach him the rules of horror, weaving in and out of hilarious segments geared toward the ropes and tropes of terror. A Shudder original. Michelle! Hit us with them spoiler-free thoughts about horror anthology Scare Package.
All right, so my spoiler-free thoughts is that this movie was clearly made by horror fans for horror fans. I don't know how people who don't enjoy horror and are not super familiar with some of the tropes and the different classic movies would feel about this movie. If somebody is watching this and they watch a man roll up a convertible hood and it is the Freddy pattern, are they going to enjoy that the way that I did? I don't know. I can only speak for myself. And for myself, as a horror fan, knowing that this movie was made for me, I loved it. It is not great horror, but it is really good comedy, and I feel like it does a really good job of being exactly what it means to be. And for that, I will give it a 4.25 out of 5 skulls.
Yeah, so I like this one too. I'm not typically a big anthology fan, but I think this one did a really good job. Horror comedy anthology for sure. None of this is meant to be actually scary. It's horror as gross out humor, right? Blood and guts instead of like poop and urine, and that's it's just gross out splatter comedy. I don't even know that you can call it horror, except that there's blood and guts everywhere and weird melting corpses and all the fun things. I don't want to say too much till we get into the spoiler section, but yeah, I thought it was good. Each of the individual shorts is a really interesting little bit of filmmaking, and the interstitial bits that tie everything together and create the overall arc was really fun and interesting. Gets into some real meta horror types of things in some unique and fun ways that we haven't seen before. Yeah, I like this one. I'm going to go 3.75 stars just to land it at, and that lands us, I think, at a nice 4 skulls, right? 4.25 and 3.75. Did I do my math right there?
Yes, you did. 4.
Yeah.
Which might be our highest rated, at least at this time of recording, movie that, at least as far as average rating.
Overall, yeah.
Yes, that is our highest rated.
I'm cool
movie.
with that. As of recording this, by the way, you guys know it's not October. It's April 16th.
We keep reminding you. Yeah, we did not do this October. I'm so sorry. Yeah. We tell you every episode.
yeah. So that's our spoiler-free thoughts. If you want to now go watch Scare Package before we get into the details, this is your cue. Cut it. All right. Michelle,
I hope they watched it. This is a good
I hope they did. I really do. It really is a lot of fun. Starting right from the get-go, they get into the meta elements. They've got that opening section called Cold Open, where the dude is just, he's a stock background character. His entire reason for existing is to just set up situations that then cause things to go haywire, but he never gets to be part of the excitement either as victim or killer, and then he just gets out there and decides he's not going to settle for the life that he's been given. He's going to put his neck on the line and try to do something unique. And of course, it goes all sorts of horror madness, and he ends up killing some people. Super fun. I had the biggest laugh of my life in a long time when the car pulls away after the Freddy convertible top comes up. The car pulls away, it pulls into the parking lot, and they zoom in on his bumper sticker, on Rad Chad's bumper sticker, and it says, "The year 1990, fuck it." And I just laughed so hard. I think you were right. This is definitely a movie that was made by people who love splatter horror, for people who love splatter horror, and it was a good time. I don't really have a lot of deep thoughts on this one. I don't know that this is going to be one of... Oh, well, maybe this will be a normal length episode. It was just good fun all the way through. Probably my favorite of the shorts before we get into the real body of the film is the one called Mister, about the werewolves and where that all goes. I thought there were some interesting twists there. I thought the way it played out was cool. The werewolf effects were cheesy, but in a fun way. That was definitely my favorite part of it. Joe Bob Briggs makes an appearance as Joe Bob Briggs in a very meta horror sort of situation. Yeah, it was just a good, fun time. A nice collection of shorts giving us some interesting ideas. I'm sure giving some up-and-coming directors at least a chance to start showing some people what they can do. It was a good time. You clearly have more to say about this than I do, though, so I'm going to shut up. You take all the time you need. Tell us your thoughts about Scare Package.
Okay, so I love anthology, and that is something that you and I have a big difference of opinion on. This is probably one of the few movies that you like that's anthology style.
And I don't even loving. Anthology for me for horror, the big thing is when there's a story happening that I like, I kind of want it to be more, and they just end up being like little tastes of things that I wish I got more of. But this one was good. Yeah, there are certain anthologies I love, and this is among them.
Awesome. So this one, even as somebody who loves anthology like myself and really gravitates towards the VHS series, for example, Tales from the Hood, the Mortuary Collection, those kind of movies I really like. And I feel like there's never a very good overarching story to tie them together. It's kind of like a very shallow thing, and then they give you some clips. And usually those clips seem to go too long for being part of a short inside of a bigger movie, and they're usually 3 shorts. I mean, it's kind of common to see 3 of them. So with this, I thought each individual bit was just the perfect amount. You're still interested in what's going on. They were so quick with the punches, especially that one time in the woods, which is the gory puddle mess man.
Yes.
And then her boyfriend is also a serial killer. That whole thing is so just... it's a masterpiece on its own, that little bit, and it's just so quickly done. And then you end it and you get right back to this like quick, shallow kind of thing. And each time they go back from the short clip, there's a little bit more to the story that is happening in the video store that is like where these movies are supposedly playing or telling the tales of. And there's just a little bit more each time until it is actually happening. Like the movie that is previously just a way to give you these shorts suddenly becomes an actual movie itself. And now they are in a horror movie, and it gets even more meta than it was previously.
Yes.
Where now they are like these people who have just been telling these short stories. Now they are living in a horror movie, and they're like, well, clearly I know about this because I've spent the first half of the movie telling others. And I just think that is so brilliant that they went so quickly with all these individually brilliant pieces. And there are a few that on their own I don't love. I probably wouldn't care to watch a full movie of it, but there are some where I'm like, this on its own, like One Time in the Woods, like Mister, those are just so good. And then it becomes an actual horror movie, kind of. Even when
Yeah.
it's at the end, it's still like more comedy. I don't think there's a lot of horror. There's a lot of gore.
Right. Yeah,
um,
exactly. It's
but
very
it never tries to
splattery,
be
but it's not
scary.
very horror.
Yeah, and I love anthologies. So when I say that this is a very, very, very good anthology movie, I truly mean that. Like I love anthology horror movies. I love anthology horror books. I grew up reading Stephen King, The Skeleton Crew, all of his stuff. Those are my favorite things. Chuck Palahniuk, love it all. And this gets a very, very high rating from me. It is just it's made for me, I feel, and I love it.
Nice.
I love
Yeah,
it
and
all.
I agree with you completely. I very much appreciate that they didn't just have goofy interstitials. There's actually a bigger story at play here, and those small stories, in their own way, kind of feed into that. I think a lot of what I love about the smaller episodes and what makes them work is it almost feels like the attitude towards them was more like, we're not going to make they almost thought of it as like a horror sketch, like the horror version of a sketch comedy show of like a Saturday Night Live. And so the concepts themselves are very small, and they're easy to do in just a few minutes in a little short. And then we come right back to that bigger story, which then, like you said, just ultimately sort of then becomes, for I want to say like the last 20 minutes or so of the film, we get into that bit about how the guy who he hires to work at the store is actually some sort of weird horror movie research scientist, and now they're actually living in a horror movie. And you got the Devil's Lake Impaler, shout out, played by legendary professional wrestler Dustin Rhodes, who you may know from his time in the WWF as Gold Dust, or who you may know from his time right now in AEW as Dustin Rhodes. He was the Devil's Lake Impaler. Also, shout out to the name Devil's Lake Impaler just because there's a Devil's Lake, North Dakota, and I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, there's a strong unity to this movie as an anthology, not just thematically, but in that storyline. Yeah, I really enjoyed it quite a bit.
Speaking of unity, that is another thing that I just think this movie is so well done. A lot of anthology will also throw in all these shorts that you can tell were made by different people, and it doesn't matter. Like they could grab any short and put it in there and it would be fine, even though each of these individual segments was directed by different people, written by different people, starring different people, some overlap. They feel like they were made by the same person, the same team.
Yeah, it feels like this was a group of people who sort of all got together to collaborate on the overall concept, and then they were like, okay, now you're gonna take your particular flavor and put it on this section, and you're gonna put your particular flavor on this section. I just keep coming back to that idea of there is a strong unity throughout this as an anthology. It does not just feel like a set of disconnected stories.
Yep. Nope. I can't recommend
Nope.
this enough to and yep, nope. I can't recommend it enough to horror fans, even if you don't even really like horror, because we do have some fans who just like listening to us, surprisingly, because they don't like horror, and we will cover the movies that they never plan on seeing. So hello, you
Hi,
people out
you
there who are too scared to watch literally anything. You might even like this, because
Yeah, no doubt.
you will. I don't think you even really need to know the tropes or need to know the references. They are just very funny. I love that One Time in the Woods. That on its own would get a 5 out of 5 for me. It's just so quick-witted and just I love it. And I feel
It was very, very fast, very quick on the draw also, like you said. It does a lot in a very short period of time. There are so many twists and turns.
Exactly.
Yeah, really, really well done. They obviously knew throughout the entire movie that they weren't going to have a huge budget to work with, so they do the smart thing where they lean into the obvious ridiculousness of their splatter and gore effects. It's so fun on that level. If you're a fan of shock rock heavy metal band Gwar, that legendary outfit, you're probably gonna dig this. It's just it's a good fun mess. A lot of vibes, very similar to like early Peter Jackson movies, Bad Taste and stuff like that. If you've never seen Bad Taste, I strongly recommend you see that. Or Dead Alive, aka Brain Dead. Good, fun, goofy splatter like that.
Yeah, and even though you could tell that they knew that they were going to have a big budget and they did go they were like, okay, let's go ridiculous with it. It feels very high budget. You can't tell that this is a low budget movie. It is excellent acting. It is beautiful camera shots. You can tell that they put everything they had into what they were able to work with, and they just created something beautiful for horror fans to really truly appreciate.
Yeah, super, super, super fun. Just quickly on the topic of anthologies and anthologies that have a strong unifying factor, I'm guessing you may have already seen this one, but it just popped into my head. If you haven't, there's an anthology from a few years back called Chillerama that is equally fantastic to this one. Similar setup where the interstitials aren't just interstitials. There's actually a story being told around this other story. The basic gimmick is there's this drive-in theater that's probably shutting down, and so they're showing this scary movie marathon. And so what you see for the individual episodes is those films, and then there's this story. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, go see it, as well as Scare Package. Have you seen that one, Michelle?
Apparently not, but I just found it on Plex, so I'll probably be watching
Chillerama. Check it out. I think you'll especially like that one.
Neat. Yeah, I love finding things that went under my radar, and I've never heard of this movie, so I will definitely be watching that.
Right
cool.
On.
Cool.
So we both definitely recommend you check out Scare Package. It came down with an average rating of 4, which is rare.
We are
for us here.
Well,
at We
you're
Watch
brutal.
Shudder. So far, I have been pretty brutal on a lot of movies. Don't get me wrong. When
I try to be a little nicer, but I also know and mine is less trying to be. It's less trying to be nice and more trying to leave room for when I hit those ones. I can move around in the 2 to 4 range as much as I need to.
If you really want to know what it's like when I feel exactly the opposite and love a movie, go back a couple of days and listen to the episode where we talk about Bliss, and you'll hear exactly that same passion in the other direction.
Yeah, that movie that I physically cannot
Shut
watch,
up.
but I did watch the ending once it got done streaming, and I was able to see that, and that was very beautiful.
Yeah, I've still got a lot of guilt over asking Michelle to watch the epilepsy movie.
If I'm going into anything horror, I'm this might make me feel like I'm going to vomit, or it might cause an epileptic situation. Either of those, I don't need a warning. I just go this might happen. It's horror. Anything horror, something might happen.
You're a big girl. You can make your own big girl decisions.
Are you calling me fat?
No.
I am a big girl. It's nice. Okay, anyway.
All right. So yeah, guys, check out Scare Package. Keep checking us out here on We Watch Shudder. We'll be coming to you every day in October with classic Shudder original and exclusives. Also still doing our new release reviews on Thursdays and or Fridays, depending on when they come out. We're having a good time. We hope you're having a good time. Are you having a good time, Michelle?
I'm having a great time, JD. Are you having a good time?
I'm having a blast in Spooktober.
Oh, so scary. Oh my God, we're ridiculous.
Thanks for joining us again, everybody. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.